Hello everyone, I hope you had an amazing day. Today I'm going to share more thrilling stories with you. But before we start, please leave a like and subscribe so I can help you fall asleep again in the future. Also make sure to comment at what time of the night you're watching this video. Now, let's get into it. The nurse who swaps babies. We have been on to a nurse who is under suspicion for switching babies when they have just been born. Right now, she is simply under suspicion, and we are trying to have a close look at her and how she works. The reason she is under suspicion is because many workers have reported to me that they have seen her switching babies. This nurse has worked here for a long time, and she is in her 70s now. She is one of those that doesn't want to retire, and she has even held me as a baby when my parents gave birth to me. So when I heard from a couple of workers who work at the hospital that she has been switching babies, I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it or even do an investigation, but no parents have come back to us thinking any different. So it's just a couple of hospital workers, and they have always had a good relationship with this nurse, and so I do trust them. It's a serious accusation, and she has worked so long at the hospital and seen the birth of many generations, but this will certainly end her. I see her walking around the hospital, and I can't believe that she still works here after so long. I have to assume that she has been doing this from the start of her career. She doesn't need the money, and she is simply working because she likes it, I'm assuming, of course. I definitely won't be working here in my 70s, but this nurse is made differently. I remember following her, and she goes into the newborn baby unit, and right there, I see her swapping babies. Her eyes, though, are a mix of gold and white. Then they go back to normal. She then looks at me and says, "I'm getting too old and getting too bad at sneak swapping babies." She also smiles. I question her about what she is doing, but she says, "Majority of babies don't belong with the family they were born into, so I swapped them into a family that they do belong with." I try to say something, but she cuts me midway and says, "I even swapped you at birth, and if you had gone home with the family you were born into, you would have turned out very bad." And she says this as her eyes turned weird again. I can see possibilities and what each new life is like with certain families. Because of me, I have secretly saved so many lives and turned this town into a functional place, she explains further. I get security to get her off premises, and she has been fired. The nightmare at the old diner? I'm still shaken. Okay, I've got to share this dream. It felt way too real, and I can't shake the feeling like I'm still trapped in it. It started at the old diner, the place I used to work. Everything seemed fine at first, with people I knew sitting at the tables, but something felt off. The air was heavy, like someone was watching me from the shadows. Then it started. This stuffed animal, I kept seeing it everywhere. First on the counter, then at the tables in the back room. It was like it was following me. But it wasn't just that. It felt like the animals around me were watching me, tracking my every move, like they knew something I didn't. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. So I wandered around the back of the restaurant and found a door I'd never noticed before. It led to a basement, and when I stepped down, I saw it. The stuffed animal. It was sitting at the bottom of the stairs, staring at me like it had been waiting. I froze. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a figure came around the corner. They looked oddly familiar, but I didn't know who they were. They grabbed the stuffed animal and ran. Fast. Faster than I thought was possible. I knew deep down that this was the person who had been watching me, and something twisted inside me told me I had to follow them. I chased them through this maze of dark rooms in the basement. Each room had curtains instead of doors. Every time I ripped one down, it felt like I was revealing something darker, like I was getting closer to something horrible. But the further I went, the more I started to lose control. The walls seemed to close in. I felt like I was running in circles, and every room felt like it was swallowing me whole. Finally, I found them, cornered, alone. I confronted them, and when I beat them down, they whispered something that chilled me to the core. "I only exist because you let me. Your suspicion is what keeps me alive. If you stop doubting me, I'll disappear. You're the one holding me here." The moment they spoke those words, they faded, like they had never existed. Just gone. But it wasn't over. I ran up the stairs, my heart pounding, only to find myself back in my hometown. I wasn't even sure how I got there, but I knew I needed to find someone to tell them what happened. As I walked around, though, it felt like eyes were on me. I turned around, sure that someone, something, was watching me. The paranoia gripped me harder. I rushed back to the old diner, desperate to find the basement door again. I had to know it was real. But when I got there, it was gone. The door that had led to the basement vanished. I lost it. I started yelling, raving, trying to explain everything that had happened. In my panic, I glanced to my left, and there it was. The door. Half hidden, like it wasn't supposed to be there. My heart stopped. I ran to it and opened it, my hands trembling. And at the bottom of the stairs was the stuffed animal again. Sitting there, waiting, staring. I woke up immediately, heart racing, covered in sweat. But I swear, even now, I can't shake the feeling. Like I'm still being watched. Like it's still there, watching me, waiting for me to be suspicious again. Third story. Okay, so this happened when I was around 11, and my family and I went to Utah for Christmas break. I was thrilled, obviously, and this cabin was in St. George, I think. We were going snowboarding in Bryan Head, which is really close to there. The cabin was extremely weird and off-putting, with a ton of taxidermy deer heads as well as bear heads and wolf heads. It also had a game room and a basement, important for later. Later in the night, we were all hanging out in the game room. It had a pool table and an old arcade game machine, one where you play as a yellow character eating dots. To the left side, behind the pool table, on the long end, there was a large mirror. Sometime later, my brother beat me in pool, so we began roughhousing, and I got shoved into the wall under the mirror, making the mirror fall down. When I saw what was behind it, I was chilled to the bone. Imagine a place where you would hide a safe. Behind the mirror was like an empty box, but it wasn't empty. It had two mirrors facing each other on the left and right side, and an upside-down cross with Latin writing on the back. My family and I were decently freaked out and decided to put the mirror back up and not mention it. Later on, when we were all going to sleep, we decided to sleep in the only room in the basement with my sister. Me, my brother, sister 1, and sister 2. We all fell asleep shortly after, but in the middle of the night, I woke up needing to go to the bathroom. I checked my phone, and it was 3:47 a.m. I used to always watch those creepy 3 a.m. challenge videos, so this freaked me out a ton, but I had priorities. I got out of bed, everyone was dead asleep, and went across the hall to the bathroom, practically sprinting out of fear. I shut and locked the door. The lights were on, but then I heard footsteps outside the door. And you know that little slit of light you're able to see under the door? I saw a shadow of 2 feet standing in front of the door, breathing heavily. I was scared out of my mind, like I wanted to die. So I sat in the bathroom for a good 20 minutes until it was 4 a.m., and the breathing and feet were gone. I ran back to the bedroom, and sure enough, everybody was still asleep. This is a true story, and I'm genuinely curious about what this was.